Ida, my Chaya, you've come to visit me today? What day is it? Susie. Oh, if I had known you were coming, I would have had them dress me differently. Something nicer, cleaner. Oh, the days, they all blur into one long day. But the day you come is a joy to me. Susie, you're so busy. It's good to see you. Let me kiss your punim. Oh, I kiss your face. Oh, you know, you don't ever bring your partner, Marlene, to come see me. Is she afraid to see me here in this place? Ah, it would have been nice to have seen her in my apartment in Brooklyn. But that was long ago. And Ida, you make the big drive from Bayside, Queens to come all the way here. You do it almost every week. You're a good daughter to me. But I have to wonder how it is I ended up here. Ah, you ask, how's my appetite? Not so good. They call me paranoid. I ask them, do you put some medicine in my food? I get sleepy all the time and confused, and you know that never happened in my apartment in Brooklyn. Ah, the bastards. What? Some things never change, Ida. It's still my favorite word. Come. It's too cold to go out. Let's go sit in my corner. This is my corner, and that is my chair. And everybody knows this is where Mrs. Zipper sits. And nobody comes over to visit with me unless I invite them. No, it's not like home, Ida. But I make do. And look at the sandwich you brought me. Ah, here she comes, the nurse. If this was a real hospital, and we were really sick, and she was a real nurse, we'd all be dead. Yes. Oh, hello, nurse. Yes, I'm visiting with my family. This is my daughter, Ida. And this is my granddaughter, Suzanne. She's the school teacher of English in the junior high. She teaches the children, the kinder, how to speak good English. This is Nurse O'Reilly. Mrs. O'Reilly takes good care on me. She treats me so special. No, we don't want to go into the cafeteria and watch people drooling while they eat lunch. No, I'm not making fun. I'm just stating a fact. No. And anyway, my daughter, look what she brought. A kosher sandwich, kosher corned beef, chopped liver, and a pickle. Would you like some? No? Good. But you must look at the rye bread. So fresh. Not like what we eat here day in and day out. Nice. You know why it's called Wonder Bread? Because we wonder what it is. Do you eat it too? It must remind you of that Irish soda bread. I had heard that was very bland. No, I'm not making fun. Mr. O'Rourke just the other day told me when he was in an orphanage, they would feed them Irish soda bread, bland, and it was hot like a rock. So at night, they'd put it in their pockets, the little boys, and use it to kill the mice at night. Okay, yeah, we'll continue our visit. Yeah. They come here very often to check on me. Ida, the other day they tried to feed me non-kosher food. The nurse comes over and she goes, "Here, Mrs. Zipper, have a chicken patty." What does she think? I'm deaf, dumb, and blind? I know the difference between a chicken and a pig. Trafe is trafe. A pig does not become a kosher chicken because the Irish nurse tells me it's so. She leans over me and says, "Eat it, it's good for you." Ah, she scares me. Sometimes she pinches my arms and grabs me. I keep my sweater down so you don't see, and I don't like to talk about it. Ah, they call this place Pilgrim State. Do you see any pilgrims here? All I see is crazy nurses running around. Anyway, Susie, move your chair closer to me. We'll eat our sandwiches, and we'll remember together. And your mother will do her crossword puzzles like she always does. So tell me, has your mother taught you any new Yiddish words since the last time I saw you? No. No? Ida. How come the only Yiddish word my granddaughter knows is guppel for fork? You know what that is? That's bupkis for nothing. What? They don't want to learn? She and her brothers, they have to learn. We're the only ones left. Ah, you know what? Do your puzzle. Ignore my questions like I ignore yours. You remember when you were a little girl, you would bury yourself in your books to avoid me. You think I didn't know that? Now do it with the puzzle. So Susie, tell me, do the children teach you bad words? Do they curse at you? Tell me what they are. I love to hear. What, Ida? I'm just visiting with my granddaughter. Asha. Oh. Oh. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sometimes I just drift away. I get confused. Am I in my apartment in Brooklyn? Or am I in the shtetl in Russia, Poland? I don't know where I am. I just know I don't want to be here. In 1970, my grandmother was involuntarily committed to Pilgrim State Psychiatric Hospital in Brentwood, Long Island. Built in 1921, by 1955, it housed over 14,000 psychiatric residents and patients. I hated the red brick buildings that sprawled over the 1,000 acres of land. I hated the heavy metal doors with the double locks, the hallways smelling of disinfectant, and the sounds of people moaning and yelling emanating from their rooms. The nurses wore nice little white starch uniforms and little white caps, and around their waists they had huge belts with key rings jangling. I don't know if any of the nurses were kind to me and my mother or smiled at us when we came to visit my grandma. It was very different when I visited my grandmother in her apartment in Brooklyn when I was 8 years old. We are there for our regular Saturday visit. My little brother Richie's in her bedroom playing on the floor, and my older brother Joel is taking a walk in the neighborhood with my dad. Me and my mom are seated at the kitchen table, and my grandma is cooking. No, Susie, I'm making the blintzes. Your papa, he loves my blintzes, so you pay attention and watch. He loves all mine cooking. Ida, you don't make blintzes for Sally, and you don't cook so good. And he loves you anyway. So tell me, my little darling, how was school? What? The teacher yelled on you? Ah, don't be sad about the math. You're a smart little kinder. Look at that punim, I kiss you punim. Mwah, what a pretty face. I kiss you too, Ida. You're my Sorevka. And do you know who you were named for? That is your Hebrew name. For my sisters, Sarah and Rebecca, who died in the Holocaust. Ah, the bastard Nazis. What, Ida? You don't like I use such a word? You say son of a bitch all the time. Me, I say bastards, and they were. You want me to say it in Yiddish so the kinder doesn't understand? Okay. They were momses. Satisfied? So tell me, my little darling, what are you doing? Your nose in a book all the time. I'm reading Nancy Drew, Grandma. I love her. Nancy Drew? That is not a Jewish name. Is she a Hollywood movie star? No, Grandma. She's a detective. And I want to be just like her when I grow up. No. And what will you do? What will you detect? I'll solve mysteries, Grandma. Mysteries? What mysteries are there left to solve? We know the earth revolves around the sun. And the Germans are all... Never mind. I thought maybe, darling, because you read so much, you wanted to be maybe a writer. Did you know your mother? She wanted to be a newspaper reporter when she was a little girl. Ida, do you remember? When you were learning to read and write the English, do you remember? I was so worried you'd forget your Yiddish. Anyway, maybe you become a funny storyteller like your mother, or a poet like me. Did you know? I had poetry published, my darling, in the Jewish Daily Forward newspaper when I got here a few years after I arrived. And you know, I speak 5 languages, Susie. Yiddish, Russian, Polish, a little Lithuanian. And I taught myself to read and write the English after I emigrated here in 1917. Oh, well, Grandma, you know, I love Nancy Drew and everybody respects her opinions and you know, I just want to be like her when I grow up, so maybe I can be a writer and a detective too. I don't want to be like Lois Lane. I don't like her anymore because she acts like a jerk around Superman. Okay, you've got big plans. Just like me when I was little. And like your mother. Ida, isn't she just like me with her big plans? And just like you too. So darling, tell me, how are you and Sally? He loves you so much. What are you rolling your eyes on me? Men, they have their good sides and their not so good sides. Better not to focus on the not so good sides or you end up alone like me. 2 husbands. Your papa I buried, he should rest in peace. And your stepfather I divorced. Yeah. So the other day, I get up and I decide I'm going to talk to the rabbi because I need somebody to go light my stove so I can cook on Saturday. I walk all the way down to the synagogue and up the stairs of the shul. And I say to the rabbi, please, I need someone to help light the stove. And you know what he says to me? He says, Mrs., what you think this is 1935? It's 1957. Do you see any Shabbos goys outside waiting to get a nickel from you to go home with you and light your stove? Go back to that apartment building you just moved into and find someone to help you. So today, Ida, when I wake up, do you know what? I decide to light my stove myself, and God would not be mad at me. And Nu, what do you think I think? Do you think I don't know how you and Sally and the kinder get here on Saturday? Do you think I think that you get up in the morning in Bayside, and then you walk up the parkway over the Brooklyn Bridge to come see me? I know. Sally drops you off at the corner, and then he parks the car blocks away, and he walks back out of respect for me and my neighbors. Because it's Sabbath, he's a good man. But what I love, at the end of the day when the sun is setting, and we're standing outside my building, you, me, and the kinder, and Sally walks away, and then he comes back with the car. Does he think I don't know where he went? The rabbi, he's a no-goodnik. All those rabbis and wannabe rebbes, sitting and standing and davening and praying to God and arguing about the Torah all day long and complaining about their wives and their lives. One day I'm not surprised God doesn't just thunder down on top of them. Enough already, shut up and get a job. Ma, speaking of jobs, do you remember Mr. Goldfarb? He used to come around when I was about 8 or 9. Remember, he took us to the Yiddish theater, and sometimes he'd take us to the movies. Remember that time he took us all the way into Manhattan, and he took us out for dinner at Horn and Hardart. That automat seemed so fancy to us. Of course I remember Mr. Goldfarb, darling. He was a good man. And you know what? Sometimes we'd be sitting in the theater. Remember, we saw King Lear in Yiddish, and out of the corner of my eye, I would look over and I would see him, and he would be so kvelling with joy for our pleasure to be watching the movie or the play. He was a very good man. Ma, how come you didn't marry him? I think he really liked you. All I needed was a 3rd husband. After I divorced your stepfather, the neighbors all talked about me behind my back. An Orthodox woman getting a divorce. Unheard of, such a thing. Anyway, do you know what? That rabbi, he reminds me of the rabbi in my shtetl. He sat on his tuchus, all day long. He sat on his tuchus all day long. And you know what? His wife worked like a dog, cooking and cleaning and sewing and taking care of the 6 children. Back then women worked like dogs, all of them did. You have it easy now, Ida, and Sally's so good to you and the kinder. Susie, come. I'm going to show you what to do with the blintzes. We're going to put them in the frying pan, and then we'll put them on the stove. Your father's going to love them. And then, you know what? I'm going to show you how to cook a duck, just like your papa loves it. What do you mean you don't want to learn to cook? Even a detective has to eat. Back at Pilgrim State Hospital, the visit with my grandmother is ending. And as I bend down to kiss her goodbye, I have to wonder, how is it she ended up here?